It is our honor to welcome Nick Kypreos to the program, the real Kipper, joining us from the Big Smoke to talk a little National Hockey League today. Can I add to your bio now, Kipper? Best-selling author? I assume on drafts it just shattered the best-selling status, I assume?
I would imagine the Greeks here in Toronto on the Danforth scooped them all up. I hope that's the case.
Oh, well, I married a Greek, by the way. I know they all have it out here, and they're big fans of you. I think I've mentioned that the last time that you were on, so Congratulations on adding that to your title. Hey, Kipper, I mentioned I got questions from the viewers that have come in, and I'm going to get to those briefly here, but the last time we chatted, I scoffed at the Toronto Maple Leafs, the prospect of them finishing first, and here we are. Did you see this coming, the way they just rolled wire to wire?
Not the rolling part. We did have them finishing top of the North Division prior to the season. We knew that Matthews, with what he's been able to do from that first game in Ottawa, where he scored four goals in his opening career game, that he's a special player. To the degree that we've seen the goal scoring, I'm not sure we anticipated that, but him and Connor McDavid have been incredible stories for the National Hockey League under trying times. But what I didn't see, Rod, was the rollover on other teams in the North, particularly Calgary with their aggressive free agent signings of Markstrom, Tanev. I didn't see that one coming. I didn't see Vancouver being as bad as they've been all season long in terms of, the challenges, of course, with the COVID. We understand that, but this is a team that probably should have had the most momentum coming into this season, and it was anything but. Maybe it was losing Markstrom. Maybe it was, other aspects of being so close last year to building a competitive team that they couldn't overcome the setback. But, overall, I am disappointed in the North, the push that teams gave the Toronto Maple Leafs. At the end of the day, they did what they were supposed to do, and that's win more hockey games than anybody else in the North, and they should be the favorites. Despite Connor McDavid's heroic season of over 100 points, they are the favorites, Rod, to be in a conference final.
Right, but the thing is, it's Canada, as you know, Kipper, so we're going to dissect every little thing. And I'm assuming you saw Craig Button saying on SportsCenter last night that the Habs won't win a game in round one, and he's getting nailed to the cross for that. So it's not enough to win a series, Kipper. You got to sweep them now. You know how that is, right? You're afraid to say anything, or maybe you're not afraid to say anything. I don't know, but Craig, that's a pretty bold statement.
Well, I said last week a couple times on some radio hits that they're just not a good hockey club, and they look like they're limping over the finish line, and there's no indication that they have any juice at all, like they did last season in the bubble. We know how they won. They suffocated offense. They shut it down, and it was led, by Shea Weber, Ben Sherratt, and there's no indication that that's going to happen a second time around. And I like Jake Allen and what he's been able to do. He's earned every dollar since signing as a free agent there, but he can't carry this. Not the way Carey Price was supposed to carry this. And they're going to snap their fingers, and Carey Price is going to be all world next week. I mean, should we just buy a lottery ticket and hope that thing comes through? I just don't see where the goals are coming from. I look at the center ice position, and how is Nick Suzuki and Kotkaniemi going to go up against Connor McDavid or Austin Matthews? There's just no light at the end of the tunnel for the Montreal Canadiens this time around.
Well, you talk to the Blue Jackets people, when Josh Anderson was lighting it up early on, they're like, just wait. There's a reason that we traded him out of here, right? And
I like Josh Anderson a lot. I like Toffoli a lot, but these guys aren't game changers. They're support guys at the highest level, and there is no star power on the Montreal Canadiens. There is not one guy that you can sit there and say that guy can change the pace of play with one shift, that this guy can carry momentum. Josh Anderson, can he go in there and run the crap out of certain players like a Morgan Riley? Yeah, he could, and he could hurt people physically. but that doesn't turn into it. Doesn't turn into for me a 6 or 7 game win in a series for them.
Well, and there's a couple. I just want to address one thing on the Jets and then talk about the Rangers, because we have a lot of viewers in the States and New York, and I assume you're the same. But I anointed the Jets winners of the Line A trade very early on, and now they can't score goals, and they're on the cusp of the playoffs. Maybe they didn't win that trade, Kipper. What's your thought on the Jets limping in?
Well, I'm okay with Pierre-Luc Dubois. I like him a lot. And I still do. The thing is, though, he does not have the finish of anything near a top player in our game today. So what does that mean? Is he a 60, 70-point guy over the course of 82 games? Doesn't appear like he's a 80 or 90 guy. But he is a type of guy, I think, that can still do very well in the playoffs. We saw that against the Toronto Maple Leafs last year. Did he overachieve a little bit with some of those goals that he scored? Yeah, probably. But we know in the playoffs you can win games and series by shutting down the other team, not necessarily filling the net, but shutting the middle of the ice down. And it starts with a big, heavy center iceman, and it ends with a great goaltender. And that's why you can never discount Winnipeg still at this point between Pierre-Luc Dubois, Mark Scheifele, and Connor Hellebuck. They still have the ability to close off teams in the middle of the ice.
That's the thing, is it's a brand new season, and I'm pulling for the Jets, but they got to hope that it's a brand new season, But hey, to New York.
Yeah, and we didn't even mention, Rod, we didn't even mention Adam Lowry as well. So that is considered the best middle ice in the North Division, and I still, I'll take that. If I was to start a team today, I probably, I don't know if excluding Austin Matthews, we certainly like Winnipeg's depth up the middle, I think a little bit more than the Leafs.
Yeah, and hey, if Nikolai Ehlers comes back, we got a week to go, things may be different, right?
He's not going to be ready.
Damn. And again, then it might be a quick series. There's your breaking news, Winnipeg. Nick Ehlers isn't going to be ready. How about that? Okay, to New York, and Kyle Hall from the Broadway Hat podcast because you've been on it. He wants to know if Torts finds his way back to New York in any role. You must have been asked that a few times since Monday or Sunday. Yeah,
well, it's New York, so if, not that I want to date myself, but if George Steinbrenner and Billy Martin can get back together again in the heyday of the New York Yankees, then there might be some room for John Tortorella to come back. I was told that it wasn't a great breakup the last time he left, but there is a mutual respect, I think, from their owner and James Dolan with Tortorella. And as we know, Slats is very much involved. Glenn Sather, of course, back in New York, but there might be a sense that James Dolan wants Tortorella back. We'll just have to see how this plays out. The other name I heard was Rick Tocchet as well. They might have some interest in Rick Tocchet, but there's going to be a heavy name that I think can push these young players on the Rangers to the next level. Of course, Quinn probably has the reputation for being a development guy, but now I think they might need or want a heavier hand to take them to the next level.
Where do you see Mess fitting into all this? And by the way, Ron Duguay's now our Rangers insider, appears regularly from Florida, and he thinks if Moose wants, you got to find you need to find a spot for your smiling already. What do you think?
It's great, but where is the fit, right? And where will Mark like the fit? And I just think that the small window that the Rangers had for a Mark Messier type might have closed a little bit, Rod. And that is at the president's position. That, if Chris Drury is going to take over as the general manager, that was one thing. But when Chris told them that he also wants the president's job, I just don't know where that leaves Mark Messier. Thinking about putting him behind the bench. Would he want an associate job? I would think if he was going to try his hand at coaching, it would be behind the bench. But again, that to me is a little trickier to put him in that type of position. But to come in as an ambassador or as advisor to somebody else or Chris Drury, I mean, he's got slats, right? So I just don't know where the fit is. Maybe you could tell me, or Dukes in Florida can tell me where you see a fit for Mark Messier if you closed off John Davidson's job to Chris Drury.
Well, listen, as you know, Dukes is the New York guy. Like I said, he's never coached anything higher than Pee Wee. And Ron says, well, with quality assistance, maybe he doesn't have to coach it. But that's, Dukes, right? He just thinks in a different space, and that's what makes him Dukes.
Well, listen, I would have had Mark from day one if it was me, and to have him as a teammate, to watch him operate on a day-to-day basis, collaborate, bring people together, inspire. Where I'd stand with Mark Messier, that's for sure.
I just think of you as a Rangers guy. Obviously, I love seeing your ring when you're on. What's John? There you go. That is a gorgeous ring, man, as you well know.
You seen them today, Rod? You need to clean them in a car wash today.
You can't wear them. You can't wear them. You can't put your hand in your pocket. Hey, what's John Davidson going to do? I mean, if there was ever Mr. Ranger, that's JD. How's he doing?
Gosh, the only thing I say to that is, how do you go from Broadway, man? How do you go from the New York Rangers to somewhere else, right? So I don't know. There seems to be possibly, multiple teams out there that might look for a different direction. I think there would be opportunities. I'm just not sure if JD would want them at this point. He's had an amazing career. Not only as a player, but a broadcaster. And then, of course, as an executive in Columbus and New York. And if he's got the energy, I'm sure he can start knocking on doors. Rod, what's going on with the Buffalo Sabres in the last 24 hours? It just refuses to go away. There's a major cleanup that has to go on there. Where's Kevin Adams? Can he clean this Eichel situation up? It's probably had an ample time by now, and yet what we learned in the last 24 hours that this is still something that's needs to be dealt with because it exploded yesterday, as far as I'm concerned. Where is the Pagulas on ownership? Where do they feel Kevin Adams can do this, or where he might be a little bit over his head? Do you welcome in a president, a Jimmy Rutherford, a Dale Talon, a John Davidson to help deal with this based on a lot of experience? So we'll have to see how it plays out.
By the way, I don't know where you are on Matthew Barnaby. I can't imagine you don't like him. He's my kind of guy. I think he's your kind of guy. He explained to me how the Pagulas could get it right with the Bills, but they can't get it right with the Sabres. He said that the NFL helped the Pagulas in all their hiring and everything, but in the NHL, just you're on your own, and you end up with Kevin Adams. That was Barney's take on the whole thing. But Ryan... Yeah, go ahead. Do you have a thought on that?
Oh, I was just going to say, there is a clear understanding from the National Hockey League on how involved you can get. So you certainly, as Matthew alluded to you, that's a different case when it comes to hockey, that they're very much hands-on.
So from Ryan in Saratoga, New York, he wants to know if you think Eichel ends up with the Rangers.
Yes, I do. And that's just based on the interests that we've heard for the past, 6 months, 8 months? We did a show it seems like an eternity ago, and I said this story will not go away. And that's clearer than ever in the last 24 hours. But they've showed interest right from the get-go. But if you really look at the way the Rangers have operated, especially, the last 5 or 10 years, Rod, in this salary cap era where they don't get to flex their muscle, they really strive on people that want to be there, that aren't in it just for the bottom line. And, whether it's Panarin, who turned down less money, or We'll see what happens, in the next little while with Zibanejad's contract. But you want to be in New York, you're not going to be necessarily the highest paid. We know Eichel's in a situation where his contract's locked up, got a lot of years left at $10 million a year. But more importantly, if that's where he wants to play and the Rangers want him, it is a natural fit. But I don't think the Sabre fans will be happy with the return on the deal. Very seldom, when you got a disgruntled player, can you get true value coming back. And I like Eichel. We know when it comes to talent, he should be in the same breath as an Austin Matthews, a Connor McDavid, Leon Draisaitl. Panarin, all those big guys. But he's proven jack squat up until this point that he can be a differential on the ice. And that's what he needs to do now, is just find a new team, get back to work, and work on your image, man, your reputation as being a top player.
I think we got 90 seconds left, and you know that in TV terms, but I just wonder your thoughts on players wanting out now. He's the captain of the Sabres. I look at all the NFL guys that want out. Look at Aaron Rodgers, for God's sakes. I know you watch across sports. In your era, guys just bit their tongue, right? How do you feel about guys just saying, I want out?
Yeah, a few here and there. We always had disgruntled situations when it was just time to move on. And, we saw it with Mark in Edmonton before he was traded to New York. I was part of a blockbuster trade with Hartford and Chicago where Steve Larmer, no question, I think one of the greatest, most dependable players in our history, gave up an iron streak because he just had enough of the Chicago Blackhawks. So there's always situations where I think we can look in the past and say nothing's really changed in terms of, if certain players have certain amount of leverage that others don't. 95% of the league, Rod, can't pull off a Jack Eichel, But when you're that good and you know it, you push the envelope.
Yeah, good point. Well, we'll see how it unfolds. Hey, the fun times ahead, Kipper. Stanley Cup playoffs, and where do guys land? Just one more. There you go. One shout out for the Real Kipper at noon, if you don't mind, where folks can watch it.
Yeah, we're on the YouTube channel. We go live streaming Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays on YouTube. Real Kipper at noon. It's through linemovement.com. And just one more shout out for my little Buddha. We've got it in Saskatchewan. We've got it in Alberta, BC. It's our beverage cocktail, all organic, no sugar, gluten-free. You'll love it.
Good for you. Makes you look young. All right, Kipper, thanks for this, man. We'll chat soon. I appreciate the time.
Anytime, Rod. Thank you.
Stanley Cup champion and undrafted NHLer, Nick Kypreos, the title of his best-selling book.
You're watching Rod Pedersen On Demand. For more of The Rod Pedersen Show, visit rodpedersen.com or follow Rod Pedersen on social media.